Some leaders leave footprints, others leave libraries. You're tuning into the Authors on Mission podcast, where industry giants become literacy legends. In every episode, we talk with authors who turn their brilliance into books that transform lives. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, your host and Chief Creative Officer at Authors on Mission. Welcome to your authorship experience.
Hello and welcome to Authors on Mission, the podcast committed to bringing you top-tier insights and strategies from established experts who've achieved remarkable success in their fields and wrote about it. I'm your host, Danielle Hutchinson, Chief Creative Officer here at Authors on Mission. Today, I am thrilled to welcome Susie Kos, a self-proclaimed inventor of free time and author of Super Synchronicity, Enter the Frequency of Lucky Chances. Susie has spent over 2 decades mastering the art of manifestation, creating her dream life that includes living in Bali, building $1 million jewelry brand, finding her perfect partner, and now she's on a mission to share a secret ingredient for success and rapid manifestation. So, listeners, if you've ever felt stuck in this conventional ways of not seeing results, this conversation is about to change everything you thought you knew about your dream life. And here at Authors on Mission, we don't just talk about successful authors, we immerse ourselves in their world, bringing you the strategies that can make you an expert in your field as well. So, without further ado, let's welcome Susie Kos to the show. Welcome, Susie.
Thank you very much for having me. Hi.
It's a pleasure to have you, and it's always really fun to, chat with people from all over the world, and I'm very much looking forward to this conversation. So the first thing I would like to start off with is, your idea of that you're the inventor of free time. That's really cool to know. I mean, everybody wants free time in their lives. So please let us know a little bit more about that. How did that come to be?
It started out just like being a joke, I realized that people, if you say, oh, I'm the inventor of free time, they are like, it's kind of strange reacting onto something like that. But the fun fact is, I really became it,
Yeah.
So it turned out to be my reality, and that's just the story of it.
That's amazing. Yeah, and then I guess you kind of manifested that yourself, being that that's what you're all about, and you wrote about it too. So that's really awesome. I mean, from what I've looked through, you've escaped the office career path. So, what was that turning point that led you to this change?
I think it was in me already since I was a child, So when we were on a holiday, I always thought, oh my God, I want to live on the beach someday. But I come from a very normal family, like 2 government workers basically. So it was, my office career was straightforward. So both of my parents, they made sure that I get a good job somewhere. So I remember when I finished the school, my father already, he arranged a meeting with the boss of the local national bank, so to be sure that I get a job there. And I remember we were sitting there with this guy, and it was clear, as soon as I finished the school, I can start there. And I think other people would have died to get this opportunity, but inside me there was something like no. No. So I said, I go to university first, so to get a few years for me. And when I finished the university 4 years later, the same thing happened. But that was already the time I had during my last year in university. I had a job during the summertime, and I earned quite a lot of money. So I was thinking, instead of spending it for whatever, I spent it on a holiday, holiday. So we went to a travel agency, and this guy, without any idea where to go, and he said, right now Bali is cheap, you can go there. So I booked a holiday in Bali for 8 weeks.
8 weeks, wow, 8 weeks. That's a long time.
Yeah, and all started with this Bali holiday. So it was, I left the airplane and I knew this is my island. I want to live here. It was such a nice energy. Bali is still great, but at that time, it was more than 20 years ago, it was paradise. Oh, so many people from all around the world doing already fashion business and all that stuff there. And it was like, oh my God, that's it.
Right.
And it all started from Bali. And I think it is also, just to explain a little bit, I think it's sometimes really important to get out of your surrounding, out of your family, out of all your friends, to be free, and also to be free in your mind. And I think this is something when you're young, or if you have the chance, or if you think about something new, I think it's good to go. And even if it's just a short break or a short holiday, it's so good.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I've also traveled a lot myself. And actually, in fact, last summer, we were away for like 33 days, just going different places. So I completely agree. It's amazing to find a new landscape for yourself to settle into, immerse yourself in new cultures, meet new people. And clearly that's kind of what kickstarted you. I mean, was there anything in particular in Bali, like a certain moment that you knew, like, this is my starting ground? You mentioned you had an amazing time, but was there a certain day or experience that stands out above others?
We were sitting on a beach on a sunset, and friend of that time, he was already into coaching, and he asked me, it's an old coaching tool question, and he asked me, if you have a magic wand, what would you wish for?
Okay.
And imagine, sitting there, sunset, beach, Bali, and I want to live here, and if I live on an island, I want to have a boat. So that was the vision. And he was laughing at me. He was, everybody wants to have a boat, or everybody wants to.
Right.
In my case, in this moment, I knew I'm just going to have it. It was clear, and it seemed to be impossible maybe at that time as a student without rich parents, how to get a boat. So, but the feeling of, I saw myself already. It was like a non-negotiable decision that I made that day. And I came back to Bali 1 year later with the purpose of buying a boat. Still no money no money, but just looking around, finding a boat. And this is the first. Now looking back, I can tell you it was synchronicity, because it was this inner reality I had, and this frequency of no doubt, and this just like 1000% sure. And that started to look around, asking around, and this is when you're open like this, and when you're sure, you just meet the right people. And we met a guy, and he said, oh, you're in Indonesia, you don't need to buy a boat, you can build your own boat. They're the most famous boat builders. And he sent us to South Sulawesi. It's like really the end of the world.
Okay.
But there were these guys, and in Indonesia, it's a seafarers country, before they were delivering all the herbs centuries back, so they were really masters in building boats, and they were building these huge wooden ships on the beach directly. And they were telling us, oh, it's cheap. It was not cheap for sure. It was cheaper than buying a normal boat. But we started to negotiating with this boat building guy, and I think it was around 250,000 euro at the time. Not much money for a boat, but a lot of money for students. And we fixed the contract without having an idea how to get the money. So, and there were so many lucky coincidences that we first, it's also about not giving up on an idea. And
right.
I think if you have this inner reality, or if you're in this happy, it's like really also happy frequency. It doesn't matter if 10 bank institutes to tell you no. I think it was number 15 or number 16 we approached, and there was one guy, he said, guys, I cannot give you a credit for a boat in Indonesia, but he had a brother, he owned a boat in South Africa, and he believed in that story. He believed in the success of this, and he granted us this crazy credit. So yeah, I went again there, and I was joining the boat building for 1 year until the boat was ready.
Wow, that must have been really cool to see it go from like start to finish.
Yeah, and it was so beautiful because they were like, when they were looking for the tree, for sure under the full moon, and they made nice ceremonies to start building the boat, and it ended out as a 30-meter sailing boat made from the hardest wood in the world, and it's still running. You know, we were operating it for 10 years, and we sold it, and it's still running with the new owner. So it's already, yeah.
Oh, that's so sad to know that it's sold. So you haven't been sailing for a little while then.
I was in Bali for almost 12 years, and 10 years on the boat.
Got it. So then, you know, so yeah, no, that's good though that, you know, you had that experience, you had the boat, and you got to live a huge chunk of your life doing that. So you really did live the dream.
Oh, yes.
So that being said, I guess, you know, the next thing that comes is that you decided to write your book and get involved in Super Synchronicity. Is that, oh no, okay, so what came next?
This would have been too early, because at that time I was sure it was the power of thoughts, you know, because when people were telling me, oh, you can do this, you know, with no money in the background, it was really a chain of lucky coincidences, and I was really like this lucky girl. But the point is, can you repeat it? You know, so if you have the lucky strike for one time, it might be luck. But in my case, I decided to go back to Austria. I became a mother in between, you know, and I decided to go back, and we sold the boat, and I bought this like an old farmhouse here in Austria. And the point is to repeat it. And I decided to start a jewelry business because I had all still.
Right, yes, the jewelry business.
But, you know, in the beginning, the people were laughing about us when we said we are going to build a boat. So this is something very important, is what I call the surrounding noises. This is why it's so good if you're away a little bit, or if you cannot leave, at least don't tell it to people. You know, keep it for yourself until you are like really sure, because otherwise it's sometimes just a sentence that kicks you out of your way. And in my case, they also like, oh, what you want to do? Sell Bali bracelets, beach bracelets now, you know, nobody was believing it. And it was, in the beginning, it was hard, but it was again very lucky, because I started out with exhibitions, and it was like just like little bracelets like that, you know. I called them in the beginning Gedankenkraft, which means the power of thought.
Okay, and is that one of the bracelets you sold, if you don't mind?
I still have one.
Oh, okay, very beautiful.
It's just a tiny rock crystal, but this is the concept of, at that time, what came up, the secret and the law of attraction, you know. Mm-hmm. And then I tried to repeat it, but this is why I figured out it doesn't work, you know. It's not enough if you just sit there and think. So like me, what I did was like, oh, I'm going to sell 1 million of these bracelets. And it was going well, because I went to all these exhibitions, but it was not that easy success, you know. So it was hard, and I got another child, and this everyday life kicked in. So I think this is where it's getting interesting also for other people, because if you don't have the luck, like just by itself, how can you get into this frequency? And it took me really, I think, like 2 or 3 years in a kind of downward spiral, where I tried to figure out, where was the turning point, you know, where did I lose my easygoing luck? Because in the beginning, everything was just like that. The boat became a success immediately, and it didn't work out. Okay. So there was a point where, like, because I invested in this farmhouse and all that stuff. So there was one point, you know, I got a dirty divorce, and I had to pay a lot of money instead of getting it like other women do, you know. So there was a point where I didn't know anymore how to pay my bills, how to feed my children. And this was the point when I heard the first time about synchronicity. And there's the usual term, it was made by Carl Gustav Jung. It's a famous Swiss psychologist, already in many years ago. And he defined it as a chain of coincidences. They have no causal connection, but they lead to a certain outcome. So, and only if you look back, you see how all these lucky twists or these coincidences made it happen. But for me, synchronicity, it's more like it's to how can you open up to this frequency, that things that might look difficult or you are stuck in a situation, how can you actively open yourself up to this frequency? And I call it frequency because if you say like everything is energy, this is so woo-woo, and it's hard to grab. We all know that at the end everything is energy somehow, but I like to think about the frequency, because a frequency you can imagine like you're radiating something out, and what is coming from inside you, there is a response, and there's an opening. And synchronicity is for me when you open up to this frequency, or when you learn to put yourself into this very happy frequency. It's not like that you're just attracting things. I think all these other ways or doors, they are already there, but you just don't see them. You're not open to do it. Because with the boat, for example, when we finished the boat, there was this horrible tsunami at the time in Indonesia, and there was this Bali bombing, and all the tourists were gone. This was exactly the time when our boat was finished, so all the tourists left the island in the blink of a second, and the only tourists who came back were the divers. And I hated diving, you know. For me, diving was like, I was really afraid of it. But we said, okay, if these are the only tourists, we called again the bank, and I said we need a little bit more money to adjust the boat to become a diving boat. So I did a diving course, we checked the dive guide, and this was the key to our success, because only with the divers, our boat, we were the first German-speaking diving boat in this remote area, and we were almost fully booked from this day on. As a normal cruising ship, I don't know, I still would have been in horrible debts still now. So this was our success. To be flexible and to see this door, it's like, also if something horrible happens, it's the way you react, or if you're open to go this way, you get the reward. And the same happened with my jewelry business. It stuck, and then I realized the name was wrong, and then I changed the name to Wish Crystals Jewelry, and I changed everything. And then I decided, because when something is hard and you're stuck, for me, it was to go to these yoga exhibitions. It was hard at the end, you know. It was fun in the beginning, but it was exhausting. So I thought, I would just love to have just a web shop, you know, e-commerce. But at that time, it was not really usual that you sell jewelry online, because the people like to touch it. But I decided to do it, and I just had this feeling. And then I was making a few phone calls, and it was the same time when synchronicity came into my life, and I realized it's my inner picture. And then I started to write the first Super Synchronicity formula, where I said, so now I'm going to repeat the success. So I remember I was sitting in my kitchen and I wrote down the business went down to 0, and I said, okay, in 1 month I want to have a 10,000 euro, and in 6 months 100,000, like that, with my jewelry business. And it's this decision I made on that day. And then is the point, I was sure, it's in the beginning maybe sometimes like if you're lying to yourself, so you have to convince yourself, because you tend to think negative, or like before you go to bed, these thoughts are coming, they're sneaking in. It's like, oh, maybe it doesn't work out, maybe it's not possible.
Yeah.
And this is the main work where I say it's like 90% in your mind and 10% of action. So I took the time and I was really reprogramming myself, my really destroyed inner reality, because it was like 2 or 3 years of being so not successful. And then is the point when you're getting this feeling, you start with the action. But the action is not just working like crazy. For me, it's always like I do a few steps and then it goes off. And in my case, I think it was 2 telephone calls, because next to synchronicity, there was this scaling that came to me, so if a business is scalable, so I was all about scaling my jewelry business. And again, at that time, it was January of 2020. And this was right before pandemic time, the Corona kicked in. So, Iman, I was lucky, again, very lucky, because exactly in March, when everything shut down, my web shop was super ready, my photo shootings were done, and I did this leap of faith because I didn't know that this was coming, but I put the last money I had into the photo shootings, into the setup on the new website. And I did something I never wanted to do because I didn't want to do Facebook advertisements. But some people convinced me, and then I did a coaching to learn it by myself, not to depend on an agency. And I learned it and I started it. And then Corona kicked in. My business went up like this. I had more than 10,000 in March, and in June, July, I hit 100,000 per month with tiny bracelets. And this was it was incredible. This is a point, it's like, wow. And then in between, for me, it was sometimes, you always have to work on yourself, and with the formula, what I always forgot, for me, it was always either like that. Either I was successful in business and my relationship went down, or I had a relationship and the business went down. So I spent the next time after the business success again working on my relationship, and I found my absolute soul mate. And I'm still working on this to keep everything, like a happy, healthy family, a happy, inspiring, loving relationship, and success in business. And we have different, because last year, and this is now we come to the point where I decided to write my book, was because I made a new formula last year, when it was, again, I did the jewelry business also almost 10 years. So last year I decided to sell it, and it was again these surrounding noises when people were telling me, oh, it's hard to sell it's like a niche market, it's spiritual, it's very up to your personality, and I started already believing it, that it's hard. But in my head it was like, I'm posting it at one of these e-commerce selling platforms and I find the buyer. But it took a while until I figured out that already surrounding noises were like blocking me. So I wrote a new Super Synchronicity formula for myself. It was last January, and I like to work with a short-term goal and a long-term goal. The short-term goal is within a month, and long-term is within 6 months. So this is how I do it, and I did that. The short-term goal was to sell the jewelry business, and the long-term goal was to write a book. But at that time, my idea of writing a book, because I didn't want to really share my personal story, I wanted to write something like a really funny fictional story, something like what is the name? Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, it turned out like, and I went into my formula, and my husband, he thought I'm sick, because I'm really serious with this not sharing, because there is something like just one word, and so I didn't share what I was up to. And he thought I'm sick, and he was, oh, darling, everything all right? And I said, yes, But it really happened, and I posted my jeweler business for sale on one of these platforms, and I tell you, 3 days later, I got like 20 offers, and there was one girl, and she said, yeah, she really wants to have it, and we had one Zoom call. And the crazy thing was, because I sold it for a 6-figure amount, also not something like this, what you have, and she wanted to buy another jewelry business. So, but the deal blew up because the guy was not honest. So she made already a company. She had the money ready on the bank, and she just fall in love with the brand. She had her own story. So she called me the next day and she said, Susie, if you're ready, I'm ready to take it over. Okay. And she did it, and it was and she had also a contract ready. So I just had a short checkup with my lawyer, and everything was done. And it was just incredible, like to do a deal in this like that. And it was exactly 23 days after the Zoom call that the money was on my account, and everything was done. And this was the time I think I spent like 1 month running around in my garden, and I go, oh, I did it, it's incredible. And this was the point where I decided that my book won't be another Hitchhiker's Guide Through the Galaxy. I have to share it. And I made my manifestation, like I said to myself, I want to have the book finished in 6 months.
And did you? Was it complete in that 6 months?
The funny thing is, I spent, for sure, after the decision, I spent a month. I didn't start, I just thought about it and made a few notes for the structure and the title, I was sure, because there's so many of these books, you have to go through so many stories and so much blah, 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 but it's not really helpful. So I wanted to make like a straightforward guide of what I did. Because synchronicity explains everything what has happened to me. And now also with the book, I'm in the middle of my newest manifestation. And to make a guide, just to help somebody to understand this little, it's just little steps, but you have to follow it. And if you follow it, if you invest this month, because I say it's this 23 days at least, to work inside yourself, to get yourself ready. And then because I'm a little bit like, I like to hide somehow, like with the jewelry, I like e-commerce. So, and I realized it was, for me, the biggest point is how much of my own story I reveal, So I was asking my husband for sure like 5 times if he's okay that I also share the love story. And I was hoping that he says no, a kind of. And he said, I don't care, just put it. And this was the point, is because at the end it's very personal. It's my whole story with all the ups and downs, but I figured out I have to tell it to make the people understand. And it's not because, for sure, I chose the biggest manifestations like the boat, but it's something I apply also in everyday life. So I also say in the book to start with little things, just to test it, to test it a little bit. But what I want to show is that really everything is possible. It is.
And you're clearly a good example of that, based on everything that you've accomplished in your life and done purely through manifestation, as you've described. It's really been incredible. And, regardless of failures, shortcomings, you always seem to keep your head up. And I think that is really incredible, especially, just diving into this book and putting that all onto paper. I'm wondering, did you encounter any challenges as you were going through this writing process, or did it kind of come naturally? Kind of segueing into the process of writing it, like physically. What was that like for you? Did you have a routine for writing?
I always did all the writing for the newsletters, website, and I also studied journalism, I have to say. But I was never writing a book or something like a long story. I was writing newsletters or the text for the landing page of the website.
Right.
But for me, before I really decided to start, I was checking around a bit. But all the advices from others, they didn't really work for me with all the structure. And I think it's different if you write like a fantasy novel or if you write a non-fiction book and if you have a target. So for me, it was more like getting it clear in my mind how to explain it to others so they understand what I want to say. And a girlfriend, she was laughing about it when I told her the truth, because I started with a preface.
Okay.
I made the title and I started with the preface because I had to figure out what is my structure, and I figured it out by writing the preface, because I read everywhere that this is the last thing you do.
Well, hey, there's really no like set, method to go about it. If that's what was speaking to you and you knew that that's what you had to do, that works. And I can see in a way that kind of framed your thoughts, right? By doing it that way.
Yeah. Now it helped me to structure it, because the preface usually you do afterwards, because you summarize your book. But I needed to summarize myself in the preface, and then I started off, and for sure I had the single steps, and then I was weaving my own story into it to keep it alive and to keep it fun, because I think the most important point in the frequency is also to stay easy and don't take it too serious. Because if you're too serious and if you're like in this desperated frequency and energy, nothing works out.
Yeah, exactly. You have to have fun with it.
Yeah, and you have to laugh about yourself. Even if there's if there's a turn back or something is not working out, don't take it serious. Don't take it personal. It's also with me now. And for me, the fun thing is the same when I decided to become an author. Check around. Everybody will tell you cannot make money with a book. You cannot live from being an author. It's hard. And this is what people, you wrote a book, and what else are you doing now? I said, I wrote a book and I'm going on like an author. I have my plans. I want to do the same thing for teenagers and for kids, because I think why you have to start as an adult working with this. And I have a 15-year-old son, and I start structuring now, because we walk our dog every day, and I'm talking to him about these things, because I need to learn the language and I need to learn how to make a story, because I like advices, they stop listening to you after 30 seconds.
That's
if mom is telling you how you should think and react and feel, they're like, yeah. So I'm in the process of figuring out what story to use to make a teenager to open up for the concept. And lucky I have a 10-year-old daughter, so she's the next. After I finish the teenager edition, I want to do it for kids, but this is the next thing. I have to learn the language too. There will be another story. There must be another story, so to keep them. But when I'm going to come back to being an author, I know it's possible, and I was checking around publishing by myself or looking for a publisher house, and finally I decided to do it by myself, but I just founded my own publish house. So it's not a big deal. I had already a company. You just add a line in your government to the company description. So to be able to publish media. So this is where I went for. But I think if you keep on doing it, and I decided, for sure to go with Amazon in the beginning. Yeah.
So you're self-published on Amazon?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is where I started, but also with other German, and I published the English version in January or February. So I found a translator, and it's going well, So, but there's also this point of synchronicity. It's so fun, because but my book, there are people like in this direct marketing. I found a group of women and they all loved it, and then they invited me. And I figured out, I also talk a lot in my book about self-sabotage. You have to do a certain step and you're kind of talking yourself out of it because, and me, it's like, as the inventor of free time, I'm sometimes very lazy, tomorrow. But for me, it was with this, to find a publisher was something but then I figured out my self-sabotage started with that I was doing podcasts only in the English market. And this is a self-narrative. I realized when I was talking to a girlfriend, I said, oh, it's so cool. I'm doing these podcasts in America, in the US, and nobody here knows what I'm doing. And then I discovered it. I'm hiding again,
Yeah, branch out, right?
because the book was a really quite quick success here because I had already people knowing me from the jewelry brand. So it was easy for me to kick off the sales. And I said, oh my God, I'm hiding in my core market and I'm pushing the other market where nobody like really knows me. And so now I started to doing the same here in Germany and Austria. But there must be also different ways because I don't how to market the book. You can do the Amazon ads. I'm doing it a little bit. It works, but for me, it's not the real thing. And then I did there's these lovely books and they're Goodreads. They're like reading rounds when you read the book together with like 10 or 15 people. And this was really nice because there was they were asking me for doing private sessions to support them on their synchronicity journey. So this was super interesting, and I got invited to an online congress about this integrity and synchronicity, and we're doing also like online courses where we take people on their journey. And it was last week, and I said I'm still self-sabotaging myself somehow. So I spent a few days opening up. I was really just walking my dog. It's like, I'm open up all doors, all portals. I'm open up for all the possibilities I don't know yet. This is super synchronicity because you want to open up yourself for that, because there is this how addiction. You have always in your mind a plan how things should work out. And this is blocking you because you're addicted to your own house and you're not open for these millions of other houses. So it was fun because I opened my emails and there was an email from a publishing house from Poland. And I was like, what's that now? And they were asking if the rights are available for Poland. And I was like,
oh, wow.
Well, yeah, why not?
Why not?
I started Googling how you sell your rights and how you sell these marketing rights and what you can ask for. And what I did, I saw it and then I said, yes, it's available. And they sent me an offer and I checked it, and the offer was quite normal for. I'm still not a best-selling author or something. It was a normal offer, and also the royalty rate was quite normal. And I thought by myself, so I'm just asking for the double because nothing to lose,
Yeah, no, that's good.
I was never expecting that, and I'm just. Yeah, and I did it. I just asked for the royalties not, but there's an advance payment, and I was just asking. I just doubled the amount, and I didn't get a reply for a week or so, and I thought, oh my goodness, so I was too much that time, and I thought by myself, no, it works different because it's the trust, and. You're putting a seed, and if you're like a farmer, you're not checking on the seed every day. So I put this seed, and I think last Friday she replied me and she said, yeah, but they're not really paying the double, but more than she offered me. So I was like,
hey, it's the negotiation, right?
Yeah,
that's what it boils down to.
Because usually I don't like negotiations too much, but in this case I was working on my self-worth or like my self-esteem, like being author and my own valuation of myself and my work. So yeah, we did the deal.
Yeah, there we go. No, I think it's amazing how it all turned out, and you really just manifested those wonderful opportunities that came your way just by continuing to, work at it and try and believe and just following your own practices. I think it's incredible. So one question for you, do you happen to have a copy of the book with you right now?
Sure.
There we go. Yeah, let's take a look.
Because it was like, the choice of the colors and all, and my only thing was like, I want to have a happy book.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's vibrant. It really does stand out.
Yeah, I love it so much, and it always makes me happy when I look at it. And yeah, this was the thing, and yeah.
No, it's beautiful, and you always need a nice cover design to attract readers. Not always judge a book by its cover, but it does make a difference. So I can see why.
It is so important. And you were asking me before about the process, because I said in my manifestation it will take me 6 months. The writing took me 3 months. It was as soon as I got my preface, the rest was like. But I didn't show it to anyone until it was finished, and then I gave it to a group of 10 people. But it took another 3 months to finish the cover and the formatting. This is the hardest. For me, this was like really hard work to make it perfect, because I'm lucky. My husband is a graphic designer, and we have all in-house. But it's to make it perfect. Like really that you say, oh, this is a professional book. This is not self-publishing or what. It was 3 months.
Right. And it does take time. And so you have to be prepared for that, especially, to anybody listening right now. You might think, the bulk of the work comes from the writing, but in actuality, you control how fast you can write. But when you're putting it into others' hands for formatting and publishing and everything that goes in between, it's a matter of relying on some other people most of the time to help you get it there. So it's going to take that time to accomplish. So we need to schedule that in. Yeah. Susie, I'm wondering, do you have any other last bits of advice to offer our listeners today, whether it be for synchronicity or manifestation or the writing process in general? And what can they take home with them today after listening to all of this amazing wisdom from you?
For the writing process, my biggest discovery was there are writing days and there are correcting days. So
yes.
You cannot push yourself to have a writing day when it's not a writing day. And you have to accept it, because it happened many times. There was one day and I wrote. And the next day I wanted to go on writing, and it was just like impossible. But this realization of take it as a correction day, because then I started just, if I have no idea or if I have no, just take this day and read it through again and again. And this, it helped me so much, the reading it again and again and again, and then kicking out things. And then you have to wait until the next writing day. Or for me, in my case, it was like that. Sometimes I was frustrated because it was like a perfect day for writing, and I had it didn't really work out, you don't have a good feeling. So take it as a correction day, and it's good to read over it again and again. I think I read every sentence, I have the feeling like 100 times at the end, until it's perfect. And you need to do it, or you have somebody who is doing it for you. But this is work, and this is like really work to, until it's perfect. I think I would never go less for anything. Before I said it's ready, I was reading over it, I think again, it was already ready, and I read it again 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, well, that's important. You need to make sure that it's exactly what you want. Once it's published, it's out there, it's your word, it's your legacy on the pages. Exactly. It has to be perfect. You got to put the definitely. So I'm loving this. I love everything that you shared with us today. Your story is really incredible, and I think for anybody listening, you can be inspired by what Susie's gone through, because going from Bali to her company to writing the book and everything in between, It's all about having that positive mindset and manifesting it. And if you're interested in learning more about that, you can pick up the book and implement these strategies yourself. How can people get in touch with you? How can they find out more about your writing, maybe ask questions or pick up the book? Where can they head next?
To pick up the book is right now it's Amazon, but I have also at supersynchronicity.com. There's my email. I love to get feedback. And I'm getting great feedback, I'm so happy to hear.
That is the best part, yeah.
It is the best part when you have people telling you that incredible things happened when you're like already not believing in it anymore, and suddenly it happened, so this is great. So I love feedback, I love contact. Yeah.
Definitely. So everybody, we're going to put the links to that website in the description box today. Be sure to click on over and learn a little bit more. And, honestly, it's been, again, a pleasure having you on the show. I look forward to learning even more. Is there anything we could be excited for in the future? You mentioned perhaps another book on the horizon?
Definitely. I want to do this for teenagers and for kids.
Yes.
Books it's like really, I know, and it's everybody starts so late to work on yourself, but I think if you put this seed of awareness before, everything might be so much easier. Like I'm doing it with my children, so you can expect that I'm seriously working on something really good, because I want my kids to read it and to somehow listen to mom.
Right.
But not in the common way. So
Definitely. So we can be on the lookout for that, and we'd love to have you back on once that's ready to go. I do agree, we should start early for all this kind of thing. Why wait for later in your life? So it's good that you're going to adapt this to the younger crowd. So again, everybody, please, please, please check out the links, check out the book. There's so much out there that we can learn from Susie today, and just, click on the links and stay in touch. Without further ado, that does wrap up our amazing conversation with Susie. Please be sure to check out Super Synchronicity, because as you learned today, Susie does share some incredible insights at harnessing the power of meaningful coincidences to create dramatic shifts in our life. Susie's told us that it's not about wishful thinking. It's about, helping your opportunities naturally flow toward you. So again, check out the book on Amazon. Check out the links in the description box. And remember, here at Authors on Mission, we're dedicated to empowering you with knowledge and confidence to become an expert in your own right. Susie's life is an inspiration. One quote that I pulled from you earlier, Susie, is that you have to create a life that's damn great for you. So take that to heart, everybody, also. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep moving forward on your mission to greatness. Have a great day, everybody.
This is Danielle Hutchinson reminding you that somewhere, someone needs the book that only you can write. Visit authorsonmission.com to start your legacy. Until next time, keep leading, keep inspiring, and keep thinking in chapters. Have a great day.